Hi, I'm Nicki from NEWaste and welcome to my compost hub. Today we're going to be doing some home composting. And home composting is the most sustainable way to recycle your kitchen food organics, your garden organics, and a few other organics you may have around your home. When organics go into landfill, they rot down in a really unhealthy way and create a lot of greenhouse gases, especially methane. So any organics that you're not putting into your compost, pop them into your green bin. So for anybody who's already composting, fantastic, keep going. And for anybody who's new to it, we will take you through everything you need to know to get started today. So we'll have a quick look at compost bins, then we'll talk about what you can and can't put in your compost, and then we'll set one up so that you'll know exactly what you need to do. So first of all, with the compost bin, you can buy one or you can make one. So have a look around your home. All you need is a container. I found an old bin that I have downsized in my kitchen. Don't need one this big anymore. So this would make a perfect compost. It has a large opening that end. That would become the base. I would turn it upside down. I would cut the top off here, and that would become the top of your compost where you put your food in. You need a lid. So I found this pot base. So that would make a perfect lid. You could use a piece of wood, anything to go on top. Just get creative with it. And with something like this, I would put some holes in it because aeration is really important to home composting. It keeps your compost healthy and smelling great. Alternatively, you could also use a bucket. These are builder's buckets. For anybody who doesn't like the white buckets, you can get black ones of these. But this one in particular, this is more like a mobile composting bin. So this is one you could sit at your back door and then you could pop it out into the sun to let it decompose and then start using another one. So when you're looking for a compost bin, the bigger your compost bin, the more heat it will produce. So the disadvantage of the smaller ones is they don't have the capacity to create as much heat in there that the microbes need to really get going. But they also have the advantage you can go and sit them in the sun as well, so that you can move them around to a nice sunny spot. So little composts have some advantages as well. They're easy to handle. Compost gets heavy, so you can move it around. Once it's compost down in there, you can directly put it out into your garden as well. So smaller composts have some advantages. I've drilled a lot of holes in the bottom there. You need really good drainage. You don't want your compost getting puggy and wet. And I've also drilled some holes up the side here for some aeration as well. So you could quite easily put that at your back door, nice and handy. You need your compost somewhere you can get to easily. And then once it's full, you could sit that in a nice sunny spot in the back of the garden and let it decompose where you move on to your next one. So something that's become very popular at the moment is in garden bed composting. And it gets a little bit mixed with vermiculture, worms as well, because they can definitely play a bigger part when you put your compost bin directly into your garden. So this one, I have actually cut the hole out of the bottom and I've drilled some holes here. Now you notice these ones are larger than in the last one because these will be down in the ground. These holes will be a little bit too large in an above ground one because they'd let a lot of flies and other things in. So think about that when you're drilling your holes where your compost bin is going to be. They're great. With these ones, you dig a hole in your garden. I would bury it up to about here, put it down into your garden so that just this top part is sitting out. You need a lid once again. Do your composting in there, and then once you've filled your container, you can either leave it there to rot down, or you could cover it with some dirt and some mulch. I'll pull it out first. Take your compost bin out first. They will slide out, and then cover your pile with some dirt and mulch, and you can directly plant straight into there too. So it means your compost is already in your garden. The other thing, this is my mini one, and these have become very popular. People are quite often making them out of poly pipe, so water pipe, and you would have them about 1 metre long, so maybe a little bit longer. I've cut the bottom out of this pot, and you pop them right down in your garden, and they're great in amongst veggies because they're nice and small, but you pop your compost in there. It'd probably only handle about a cup or two a week on this size. And the advantage of the in-garden compost is that the worms and things move in and out, the moisture moves in and out too, so you're actually feeding some of your plants while that's in amongst it all too. and creating some nice moisture in your garden. So great thing to use, the mini composting. And with something like that, I found an old pot lid that would fit on it perfectly. Once again, you would find a pot base or something that will fit over that quite snugly. Pop a rock on it if you need to, and that'll be great. All right, before we start composting, we'll have a quick chat about what you can or can't put in your compost. So there's a few little do's and don'ts. All of your kitchen vegetable and fruit peelings, scraps can all go in there. A lot of people say you cannot put citrus in your compost, but a small amount is okay. Worms and the microbes don't like it, but it won't kill them. So little amounts of citrus are okay. They just take a really long time to break down, and I quite often just compost them straight into my garden. Citrus. Onion and garlic is another one as well, but I think the main reason is they can make it a little bit acidic, and like a large onion would take a long time to break down. But when you're just cutting the little ends off and the skins, that's fine. I still pop them in mine, and the same with garlic as well. I think the main reason is that they can shoot in your compost garden, so unless that's a problem to you, they're fine. With fruit and veggies, there's a couple of things. Passion fruit, you have to think about the seeds that are in some of the foods you put in there that could resprout again too. So passion fruit is not one that I want popping up all around my garden, so I don't tend to put passion fruit seeds in mine. But tomato seeds and things like that, they're easy to weed out, so I don't mind with that either. So all your kitchen food scraps, vegetable and fruit scraps can definitely go in. Okay, so let's get started making our compost. The first thing is we need to divide things into two groups. We have your nitrogen, which is very important, and that's all your green, wet kitchen scraps. The drier carbon, the other mix, is your straws, your dry leaves, your dry glass clippings, things like that too. So for every 1 bucket of green, wet scraps we put in, we need 2 buckets of drier nitrogen. That's our dry mix too. And that is the correct balance for compost to break down and to increase those microbes and things too. And it helps it stay healthy. So paper is a fantastic thing. If you're running out of dry matter, newspaper is a fantastic thing to add to your compost. Great source of carbon. Carbon makes your plants grow strong and healthy. It's the building blocks of life. So if you want really nice, strong, healthy plants, carbon is fantastic. And the nitrogen is more like the vitamins for your plants. So compost really helps you build nice, good, strong, healthy, resistant plants. Much more disease-free too, because they're getting a much more balanced diet. So fantastic to put some shredded paper in there as well. So let's get started. So we'll do it in this mobile one. I always put sticks in the bottom. Sticks don't break down very well in the compost, so I wouldn't suggest putting sticks in there. Pop them back in your garden as mulch, or pop them in your green bin if you don't want them around your garden. But they're great for in the bottom because they allow a lot of aeration. Air is really important in your compost. So pop some sticks like that in the bottom, sliding around a little bit. Spread them out across the bottom, put them into about here, and it makes a great airspace for worms and other things to move in and around the bottom too. And because compost's quite heavy, and as you put more in, it pushes down quite a lot, it just stops it from compacting too much and keeps your drainage open at the bottom. So once again, lots of shredded paper is a great thing to put in there. Straw. And there, anything like straw, you don't want a big thick mat of it. Spread it throughout your compost, because otherwise if you end up with dry layers, it doesn't integrate as much. So things need to be kept moist, not wet, not puggy, otherwise you will end up with the smell. So the moisture balance is probably one of the most important things in getting air in there and keeping an eye on your moisture. If it gets too wet and smelly, just add more dry. And if it gets too dry, just either add some water or add some more green matter. So we've got some more of the brown in there. Whack some food scraps in there. add some more, a little bit more brown. Now, something I like to put into my compost every now and then is I go and get just a couple of handfuls of some nice broken down mulch and soil from my garden, just from a healthy spot. You don't want to put the dry, and that introduces those good bacteria into your compost. And then that's all there is to composting, is to just keep adding as you go along. So every time I take a bucket out from the kitchen and empty my compost into my compost bin, I cover it with some drier, browner garden scraps over the top. So if you're putting green garden matter in there, that counts as the wetter. And if it's brown and drier, then it's your carbon. So layers of those, covering it up, and that stops a lot of the, it will stop flies and other things getting into your food scraps as well. So lots of advantages. Make sure you spread it all around. That was a little bit too much that time. Put a little bit back. For this size compost, you don't want to have too many thick layers. So keep it thin, and at the end of the day, compost it up. A couple of more handfuls of dirt every now and then, and we just keep adding those in. So, we'll pop into the bathroom on this time. So, tissues, things that I've had from my bathroom, toilet rolls, they're fine to go in as they are. You can tear them up if you want to. And any of those little bits of small paper that are too small to go into your recycling bin, pop them in your organics. So, a little bit of extra to top up to keep it covered, and that'll be great. So that is full now. So, pop my lid on it. Oops, wrong lid. Pop my lid on it. And now we can put that in a nice sunny spot and let it break down. And about once a week, I will give this a little bit of a roll. So I'll tip it on its side and just give it a little roll around to mix the air in. Air is really important. If you have a compost bin that is permanently in a position, it is great to get in there every couple of weeks and give it a little bit of a turn just to mix it. The hotter material in the centre with the microbes that's breaking down well, move that to the outside. Use that's sitting on the outside that's been a bit cooler. Try and get that into the inside. If you're somebody like me who doesn't get round to turning their compost too often, that's okay. Just try and get your balance between your layers and you can get away with it for a lot longer. Okay, so that's how you make home composting. The other thing is, your permanent ones, get them in as sunny a spot as possible. If you don't have a sunny spot, it's going to be in the shade. That's okay. It will just take a little bit longer to break down. So once your compost is broken down, it will look like this. Beautiful, beautiful, rich soil. It should be just moist. It'll hold a shape in your hand. Just hold a shape in your hand. You don't want it to be too firm. So that is a beautiful, and it's fantastic for plants, excellent for the health of plants, and enjoy it. You can plant your seedlings and things straight into those. So from your garden, you can put lawn clippings, leaves, small twigs. Sticks don't tend to break down in your compost bin, so it's better to leave them out. So either mulch them directly back into your garden or cut them up and pop them in your green bin. All right, some other things that you can pop in from around your house. I have a bathroom organics bin where I put things like tissues, toilet rolls, things like that. You can also now get cotton buds that have a wooden centre rather than a plastic stick in the centre, so you can compost those. And there's also a lot of compostable face wipes and even wet wipes. You can get some compostable ones of those, but they must be compostable. All right, and if you like a bit of takeaway, a lot of takeaway comes in compostable containers. So pizza boxes in particular are a fantastic one. They're quite often quite oily and they have cheese and other things stuck to them, some food left over. Definitely that oiliness in there. So not so great to put in with the clean paper in your recycle bin. So they're fantastic to put in your compost bin. Worms, love it. It's an awesome source of carbon. A lot of other takeaway containers you now get. These are often around now. They're just a cardboard box that your takeaway comes in. Fantastic. Straight into your compost at home. I always just pop them back in the car and take them home. Paper plates. A lot of patent plates, and there are a lot of plastic coated paper plates. So if you can find some raw paper plates that are compostable, they're great to pop in your compost as well. You can get some paper cups, not necessarily coffee ones, although there are a few around. Some of them are compostable. Others have a plastic liner in them, so don't pop those in the compost bin. They'll usually have a little label in the bottom saying that they're compostable. And also, if you're getting something from the bakery and that comes home in a paper bag and it's got a little bit of sauce and other things on it, fantastic for in the compost as well. And sometimes when you're out and about with takeaways, you might find something like this, which is a starch spoon, takeaway spoon, and it's made from vegetable starch, so that will break down in your compost as well. There's also wooden ones, bamboo, quite a few different ones now. So just keep an eye out on what type of takeaway packaging that you've got and whether or not it's compostable. So they're all fantastic just to bring home, pop in your compost. Stay away from bio. It must be compostable. And a lot of bio things, as much as they break down, they won't break down in your home compost. And there's some other things there too. So avoid the bios for your home composting. Tissues and things from around your home, they can definitely go in your organics bin as well. So they just make great extra carbon in your compost bin. Now, from your garden organics, lawn clippings are fantastic. And I quite often leave them piled up just next to my compost bin so that they do dry out a little bit, because I end up with quite a lot of wet stuff. You need some dry stuff in your compost as well. So with all leaves and things like that, shiny leaves are quite often quite oily too, so they can take a lot longer to break down in your compost. So I leave them next to the compost bin as well, so they get some sun on them, break down a little bit. They'll break down a lot easier in your compost bin. But any duller, softer leaves break down really quickly. So things from your garden clippings, leaf clippings and prunings, small twigs, dried leaves. Be careful with seeds around your garden too. Any particular weeds and things that have seeds in them. A lot of them will break down, but you'll soon figure out which ones are your problem ones. Straw, fantastic, and any other garden refuge that's not too dense, doesn't have too much of a stem. Fantastic for going in your garden as well. When you're composting, handling your compost, you should wear gloves, just because there are a lot of different bacteria in action in there. So gloves are an essential. And I also always have my little spade too for mixing. And generally my spade sits there. I keep the handle clean so that I can go out and handle it without gloves when I'm just emptying my compost in. So a couple of great tools to have. I hope you've enjoyed composting. So get started. It's a great thing to do. All right, bye.